folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, are we getting really close to World War III, or maybe even worse, nuclear war? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's being talked about right now. In fact, I really think that this is probably the first time since at least the 1960s, probably the Cuban Missile Crisis, that this kind of conversation has really been had, and that the threat level has been probably as high as it is. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. Is there a threat as much as it's being made out to be, or is the threat actually worse than what the media is playing it out? And we want to talk about, a little bit of how to get ready, at least what we're doing around here, because whether or not you think it's like high threat, it's certainly, I think, something that we should start getting ourselves ready for. But then we're also going to talk today about how I still believe what we're watching is a big orchestrated plan play out right before our eyes. Before I get started with that, a couple of things I want to mention to you: that we're having our local meeting that we have on a monthly basis. It's open to the public and it's free to attend. This weekend, Sunday, March 6th, the meeting starts at 2 p.m. It's at the same place that we always have it. The doors open around 12 o'clock, and I always encourage people, if you're able, to come early, because that's where the real stuff happens, is before and after the meeting, because we encourage people to come and just mingle and talk, get to know each other, plan, get things actually happening, and it is happening. People really enjoy that they can come a couple of hours early and just mingle. It's a family-friendly event. There's food available, and just come and just enjoy. We're setting up the meeting a little bit different for those of you that's been attending. We're setting the building up where we'll be setting differently. We're trying to create a little barrier space between the actual meeting and place for the children to be, because I know there's been some noise level issues. We're going to try something different, see if it works out well or not. Doesn't hurt to try. But if you can attend, certainly do, as things are in the world and here in the United States are just ever evolving. We certainly need to be doing this kind of stuff, of meeting with each other and planning forward. Also, wanted to remind you of our big expo that we're having at the end of May. This is a 2-day event where we're going to have vendors and speakers, and we're going to have a skills area, demonstration area. People will be demonstrating various different homesteading and prepping skills in this area. It's going to be a pretty fun event, and we are working, behind the scenes to get all this set up. You can go to preparedhomesteadexpo.com to find out more information about it. I have updated some information on the website on lodging, available places, and also to camp. We are still hoping that we can have some limited camping spaces available on the property grounds where we're having this event. We just haven't been able to get all that worked out because the weather hasn't, really worked with us. We still have ice that's melting, and it's kind of really soft ground, but we are planning soon to get back into the property and figure out how many spaces we can have available, because I don't want to put that information out yet until I know for certain what we can do. But certainly go to preparedhomesteadexpo.com and you can find out this is a free event. We're not charging for anyone to attend. You can make donations online or in person if you wish, but you don't have to. It would be nice if you sign up online to attend. All that is so that we can get a general head count of how many people to plan for this event. But things are working in the background, and as the information is available, I will share it on here. All right, so over the last 48 hours, things are just evolving and happening over there. There has been a delegation of Russian and Ukrainian officials that have met to try to negotiate some kind of ceasefire. I don't know if that's going to do any good. A lot of people are saying it's all just show. From what I understand, there's not been any information released on what was possibly accomplished, other than that they've agreed to meet again a second time. But things just keep happening over there. There's a whole convoy, a column of Russian troops and equipment moving towards Kiev. It gives every appearance that their plan is to surround and put the country under siege. The rest of the West, NATO and the European Union, they're really kicking up on supplying and supporting Ukraine. There's been reports from just about most of the players in the European Union and NATO countries that they are supporting Ukraine one way or the other through sanctions, but a lot of them are supporting through equipment, even military equipment. The European Union has supplied fighter jets to Ukraine, and there's ammunition and anti-tank rockets and grenades and guns and all kinds of stuff from various different countries being sent to Ukraine. The thing is that Russia has said that they will fire upon any of these convoys of supplies, that they just will do it, and they're warning. Now, as of yet, they haven't done so, but they said that they will. The EU and NATO have responded that this could be considered an act of war. The NATO has alluded to the fact that this could spark an Article 5 against Russia. So right there, like I said, we're dealing with a tense situation. Even if it's all orchestrated and planned out, it doesn't mean that someone doesn't make a mistake along the way, or maybe the plan is to start something bigger. The longer and longer this gets drawn out, the harder and harder I see it being that a peaceful resolution is had, because a lot of it because of the nature of the position that Russia and Putin is put in this situation. It's highly unlikely that he's just going to go down without a fight, unless that is the plan. But I believe that, you know, he's the type of person that's gonna fight till the end. And if that's so, then that puts the rest of the world in kind of a dangerous situation, because they're putting a lot of pressure on him. Now, the other big thing that's been in the news, well, it's not been big in the news, but I think it has the potential to be big, is the nuclear threat. There's always a nuclear threat when the players involved are nuclear powers. But the threat has been escalated. Putin has announced that he's activated their nuclear defense units, and there seems to be every indication that this is really being done not so much towards Ukraine, but towards NATO countries and the United States, Europe and the United States. There have been people that, and again, you can't verify if this is actual true, or if this is just all part of the propaganda war. But I believe it was Newsmax had a guy on that was a former employee. He formerly worked under Putin and his administration, and he was claiming that this is very, very serious, very emphatic that this is serious, and that people, and Americans specifically, need to react to this. He said that the sanctions and stuff is not going to do any good whatsoever at this point. I shared this information over on our TPH network, which is our standalone separate site that is like Facebook. It's a social media site. You can get on there. There's several thousand people now, and a lot of great communication. It's simple to sign up, and it doesn't cost you anything. I'm certainly not making any money off of this thing, but it's really growing to be a very good source of information and way for people like you to connect with each other. Now, does that mean that we should, sound the alarm bells and go into a panic that we're on the brink of a nuclear war? No, probably not. I think our own personal DEFCON levels do probably need to be raised. I think we're in an increased possibility of something like that happen. I know many of you, and I kind of feel the same way, that it's highly unlikely that nukes will be used. But that's under normal war situations. The Russian media said yesterday that basically they have 500 nukes and submarines pointed at NATO and the U.S. And that and they said in so many words that if Russia is going to be no more, then they see no need for the United States and NATO to exist either. And so that's the thing. I'm sure a lot of it is propaganda and threats, but how much of it is true? That at what point they could feel this pressure that they have put into a corner, and there's no way out. It's other than die fighting. So that is something to worry about. Around here, and you should have the same thing too. You should have a nuclear preparedness plan. Even though you might feel it's a smaller possibility of it happen, it's always a possibility, and it's major. And don't buy into this argument by some that, well, you're just going to die. There's no way to survive it, because that's not true at all. Unless you're sitting right next door to a major target, it is survivable. And for instance, where we live, I feel that this area is a very survivable area. We're not near anywhere close to any major targets. And so you have to have things on hand. You have to have things like potassium iodide. You can also make your own. Walnut hull tincture works as well, if not better, in studies. Of course, we're not in that time of year for you to be making it, but if all is well come this into the summer and the fall, you can certainly make your own with a walnut hull tincture. I've made videos on that in the past, and it works well, and it's very nearly cheap, nearly free to make. But the tablets aren't that expensive either. Finland has been selling out on those. There's been talks, I've heard rumors that other places in Europe have been selling a lot. I suspect as this threat grows, we will see that happen here in the United States, kind of like toilet paper was 2 years ago. So if you don't have them, I suggest you buy them now. Again, they're not terribly expensive to purchase. You can order the stuff on Amazon. A lot of websites you can buy the little pills to take, and that protects your thyroid in attack. Other things we do is we keep lots of plastic and tape around. We have a plan to cover our garden areas. I know that's not a 100% plan, but it's better than nothing to try to protect your soil from as much of that possible radiated ash falling on it. And so like I said, it's not 100%, but it's very helpful in reducing the amount, because you want to protect the soil to be able to grow and close yourself in. This is one of those scenarios that if something like that was to happen, even if it didn't happen near you, if you're on the East Coast and they strike the West Coast, or vice versa, or whatever, I can assure you that overnight, things like banking, money, grocery stores, gasoline, all that stuff's going to dry up like that. If you've ever lived in a hurricane area and see how fast things just go away in a short period of time, that's going to happen, but it's going to be much greater. Americans will lose their minds. That's why we prepare. You need to be able to have at minimum 90 days of food on hand, to be able to shut yourself up in your house for 90 days. That's the minimum, I think. If you say, hey, I can only do 30 days, well, that's better than nothing. But work towards a 90-day goal of being able to close yourself off in your home for at least 90 days. And then once you meet that goal, just keep adding another 60 days, 90 days, whatever, until you get to about a 2-year level. Another thing that you do, and something that I did this morning, my closest neighbor, and I mean closest in distance and closest, and he's probably the closest friend that I have that's a neighbor. And we met this morning, which we do occasionally. This guy is a retired Special Forces. He's the real deal. And he's still just as hardcore as he ever was. And we met this morning to talk about what's going on, revisit our plans that we have made, revisit things, adjust them. What are we going to do? How are we going to react? How do we help each other? This is the kind of conversations you need to be having. No, you don't want to just go up to a random neighbor and start talking like that. But you say things that kind of opens that door. You talk to certain people, friends and neighbors and coworkers that you've already talked to, that you kind of think that they're probably in line with you. And you start saying things that opens those doors, so that these kind of conversations that can be had, because that's what you need to be doing, folks. You need to be having these conversations so that when, the fecal matter hits the wind mover, you have someone that you can coordinate with, plan with, communicate with, depend on. They can depend on you, because as things worsen in our world, it's not a good idea to be handling this all on your own. I mean, if that's just the only way you can do it, then you make do with what you got. But you need to put effort into building connections with other like-minded people. And so that's what we did this morning. And I think that's an excellent point in your preparedness plan that so many people miss. Whether you're creating an actual mag or it's just mutual agreements with your neighbors and friends and stuff like that. Certainly be having those conversations, because things are heating up. one way or the other. I mean, like I said, this is the longer and longer this gets drawn out, the more increased chance, I think, of this becoming some kind of world war or greater conflict. And it may not happen in the coming days or weeks. I'm not saying that it's that soon, but I do think that the things that are happening right now are setting the stage for that at some point in the future. Months down the road, even a couple of years down the road. And the big thing is I think this is all part of the plan. That's right, Great Reset, 2030, New World Order, because even a Ukrainian official on TV in an interview said that they're fighting for the New World Order, and everyone's going crazy. Oh my goodness, she used the words New World Order. See, we told you that Ukraine's the bad guys and NATO's the bad guys. Well, like I said yesterday, they are, but so is the other side. They're all the bad guys. None of them are looking out for you. None of them are fighting for your freedom. It's not like that. Because the Russian side said the same thing. One of the Russian ministers said that Russia, is working on a one world digital currency. That's right, one world digital currency. Well, they've been working on this for a while with China. And so they're trying to implement that now. They're working towards that. This isn't about freedom, folks. This is about either a plan that they're just playing their part, or that there are two opposing factions in the control of the new world. Either way, it doesn't matter to me, because either way it affects us. It's affecting the economy. Saw this was interesting. I thought this was funny. Ron Paul shared this, that the pharmaceutical industry has handed off the baton to the military industrial complex, basically. And as the stock market is rolling around in the negative, guess what's doing really good? That's right, the military stocks, the defense stocks. And that's the thing. We've watched 2 years the pharmaceutical and many other industries basically rob the Americans of their wealth. We've seen the greatest wealth transfer in history, and we're going to watch that continue now as we move towards this, threat of global war. And we got to just milk that one dry a little bit more and transfer a little bit more wealth into their coffers. And that's what they do, because they don't actually make any. They can add as many zeros as they want. And the Fed is saying that oh, we might have to, kicking Russia off SWIFT, we might have to create some more currency. We might have to kick the printers up again, But they don't actually create any of that. You and I, through our labor, is the only way to create it. And they're going to try to take as much as they can of it. And that's a big part of what we're seeing, folks. We're seeing just this, it's moving along. My neighbor and I this morning talked about that. We've known about this kind of stuff for years, but it's a little surprising to see the speed at which it's moving along. And at some point, behind their little closed doors in the last, couple of years or so, someone said, okay, now's the time. Plan is go. Give it a green light, kick it into high gear, and we move forward, at a very rapid speed of all this takeover and confusion, and keep everyone in a heightened state of fear, so that we can, just change the world as we know it and have a global takeover. That's what we're seeing play out, I believe, folks. But it doesn't mean that you and I cannot prepare. We must prepare. We must get ourselves ready for this. Because if we don't, really the only alternative is to bow down and kiss the hand that's going to feed you. Or you can, die with your boots on, standing on your feet. And then that's the way I see it. So keep preparing, keep pushing forward. Get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and most especially spiritually, folks, because above all, we are watching spiritual warfare play out right before our eyes. Folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.